fuck.
The G.91 R is a premium rank 5 German jet fighter with the battle rating of 8.7 in air realistic battles. Let's talk about it, YouTube. Alright, so I've been playing a lot of jets this BR lately. I've had this fighter for probably 6 months or so. I really liked it, really had enjoyed playing it. I don't take it out too much, but I have it in the MiG-17 AS. Generally, the MiG-17 AS wins out just because it doesn't have wing overload crash like this thing does. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But I do enjoy taking this out. I find myself being more and more of a German main as we go along, but I've been grinding Silver Lions in anticipation of the May sale, and so I wanted to just mix up and play some jets that I haven't been playing lately, and this one popped up, and I've been really enjoying it, but it's still sitting at 8.7, and there have been a lot of battle rating changes lately in this area, and it's kind of interesting to see how it has held up or not held up, and that's sort of what this video is going to be about. So let's get into it. Alright, so this is a G91. It's a German Premium, and it's at 8.7. The best thing, or what I guess people know about this Premium and this particular variant of the G91, is that it carries 4 AIM-9Bs. And AIM-9Bs, you know, everybody rags on them. They're kind of terrible, and they are kind of terrible. But I also have a pretty good amount of success with them when used properly, and I'll talk about that. But so it's sort of a G91, which there are a lot of G91s in various tech trees for all sorts of nations, and this one's not any particular. It's not really different than any of the rest of those. It has 4 50 cals. And it's got I think 1,800 rounds for those 50 cals. It's doing pretty good in terms of armament, and the armament is what is kind of keeping it in the game right now. And why do I say keeping it in the game? Okay, well, Starfighter 9.3, Super Saber 9.3, MiG-19 9.3. All of these planes have been decompressed. I'm going to say quote decompressed in battle rating with the new top tier, and what they've been doing is sort of realizing that these formerly, you know, super, you know, like the top tier, the MiG-19 used to be the king, right? And it's just not been lately. It's just not. And so they're finally realizing some of these planes need to go down in BR. But when they did that, they have now compressed on top of some of these 8.7s, and the G91 R4 is a classic kind of example of this. It is really, I'm not going to say suffering. It's just not suffering. It's still a great jet. But what you're finding is, or at least what I'm finding, is that this used to be the king of this battle rating. Like you would fight some of the American jets. I'm trying to remember, like the F9Fs, other sort of I guess A4s in this battle ranking, all sort of are. I'm not going to say they're suffering. I'm just going to say that they now have a higher level of jet coming into that battle rating, which is sort of pushing this jet out to a bit more of a support role in an up tier at least. So yeah, that's where we find ourselves in terms of battle ranking. Let me kind of go over some pros and cons real quick. So the first pro they have here is exceptional maneuverability with very high roll rates and turn rates. Yes, still true. However, I would say, whereas before, the sabers around this battle ranking would be the weaker sabers, right? And now, since they have, quote, decompressed the sabers, you're now seeing the higher powered sabers in this battle ranking to be played more. And so you are no longer like the top dog in maneuverability. You're fighting MiG-15s and MiG-17s. You hold your own with those, and you even hold your own with the early variants of sabers. But when you start getting into the 86Fs and some of the missile carrying variants, which are now at 9.0, you're gonna be not a superior plane in terms of maneuverability. So you're gonna have to update your thinking when you play this plane now, and that's what I've been finding. A varied and effective suspended armament choices. Well, that might be true in ground RB, but I'm talking about air realistic battles here, and essentially your suspended armament is going to be 4 AIM-9Bs, which is excellent. Don't get me wrong, I think that's amazing, but it's not varied, and it's semi-effective. You'll see in the footage here. Sometimes AIM-9B wants to track its target and will pull what I believe is like way more than its posted G limit and just really make a great shot, and sometimes it will just not track at all and just kind of fly off somewhere. I almost use them sort of like a rocket, because you're going to have a lot more success with them if you kind of treat them like rockets and then hope that they do a little tracking, because if you're trying to make a long missile shot, it's so hit or miss. And you'll also see in the clips, I usually fire 2 of them, and you know, a lot of the times I'll fire 2 missiles or so at a target because one's not going to track, the other might track, or you know, the other reason I fire them in multiples is because if they're not super effective missiles, I don't want them weighing down my plane. Like, if I'm getting into the dogfight, if I'm getting into the furball, I don't want to be carrying a bunch of heavy, useless missiles on my wings, right? It leads to more wing overload crashes, things like that. I don't want to rip my wings, and I don't want just to be carrying essentially inert weight on my wings while I'm dogfighting. So you'll see probably in these clips I'm firing these missiles pretty aggressively, but just because they're sort of, they'll either decide they want to work or not. Sometimes I'll get a kill, sometimes I'll double up on the kill, and I'm okay with it. I got 4 of them. I'm going to use them not sparingly. I'm going to use them very liberally, just be shooting them off when I see a half decent missile shot envelope. So, alright, another pro. Access to air-to-air missiles, yep, I kind of covered that. Access to 4 Nords, again, covered that. And that's all the Wikipedia lists as pros, which I find interesting. I think there's a lot more pros for this than what the Wikipedia says here, but as mentioned, sort of the BR compression and the, you know, just the limited use of the AIM-9Bs has sort of reduce the overall effectiveness of this plane in the battle rating. And there are a lot better missiles entering the battle rating now that you have to keep an eye on, so the lack of flares is a bit more of an issue. But overall, it's still a fantastic plane. I just want to get you guys to update your thinking about this premium as we go into the sales. All right, let me cover the cons too. It says relatively low caliber primary armament, 450 cal Brownings. Yeah, I mean, I would say before, this is definitely way more of a negative. I would say with the real shatter changes, I kind of see 50 cals as kind of a pro. They're not super effective, but they'll set fires. And that's kind of where we are in the current meta in terms of armament. Real shatter with cannons is kind of super hit or miss. I've found that 50 cals can be a superior armament sometimes, just because you've always relied on fires for the 50 cals. They still have the tracer belt, and this is jet combat. You know, they might use the extinguisher at this BR. Most of them don't have the extinguisher, but even if they use the extinguisher, they are an easy target, or they're probably not making it back to base now that bases have been moved back. So, you know, the 50 cal's not necessarily a con anymore in the today's meta. Another con, slower than most of its contemporaries. Yes, this is a way bigger con now. It being slower, there are a lot more supersonic jets in the BR, or near supersonic jets in the BR, Super Sabres, MiG-19s, a bunch of Swedish stuff that I don't even understand, Starfighters, 104s, Su-7s. A lot of faster jets have now entered the battle rating, or are now being played again in the battle rating. So the G91's relative slowness does show up quite a bit more. And this kind of, again, puts you more in a support role. It gets you to the battlefield slower because the maps are bigger. So I find myself to be almost outside the fur ball with 4 missiles at a medium altitude, which is a fine place to be. It's just different than how it was playing before. Another con, relatively fragile airframe. Yeah, I mean, okay. I just don't get shot with jets. Like, it's a bad thing for every plane. Don't do it. You know, you might wing rip. Maybe that's what this is referring to, but don't expect this to be a super tanky plane, or jet, I should say. And you shouldn't expect that of any jet. Another con, poor energy retention. Yeah, okay, fine. And this does show up when fighting MiGs, and now even the more popular Sabres. You do need to modify your dogfighting strategy. But when you're fighting at least A4s, you still have the superior energy retention because they're a delta wing plane. So yeah, keep an eye on that. But that's not changed for the G91 since the battle rating changed. So yeah, in summary, it's still a fantastic jet. I'm still getting kills with it. AIM-9s when they want to work is fine. You got 4 of them, fire them off. You can be kind of a bomber striker hunter. There's a lot of good, easy silver lines and RP to be made with it as a premium. Is it worth picking up? Yeah, I mean, I would say it's still worth picking up. It's quite expensive. It's 8,900. You know, Golden Eagles. I think there maybe are better choices out there now. But it's still, in my opinion, I like 8.7 VR. I think it's a very semi-balanced VR for jets. It lets you play with jets that are, you know, at least able to take off while not having to deal with AIM-9Ls so much. So I really like 8.7. I really like the G91 R4. I think it's a good grinder for Germany, but it does have more drawbacks now with the BR quote decompression, which has compressed more superior jets in the 9.3 battle ranking. And obviously, if you get a full up tier to 9.7, that's actually a little better now that they've moved the A10s and the Su-25s out. But you still might run into Harriers with AIM-9Gs. Just keep an eye on it. It's a bit more of a passive plane now, but it's fantastic for ground RB, I'm told, and it is still a lot of fun in air RB. So, yeah, thanks a lot, guys. If you haven't already, give me a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel, and I really appreciate you. Have a great day.